First up, simply because it was branded, at least this one, as AHSS. They also go by the brand name of KOR, K-O-R. This was imported by American Tactical, and the model is the FXS9. You might note that it's somewhat reminiscent of some other guns that have been on the market before, and visually, this is probably the least impressive of them all. It just kind of looks like a dated basic design. However, it's got some surprises in store for once you shoot it. Magazines are a CZ75 pattern, which is excellent, means they're readily available and very affordable. The sights were one of the things of note. That nice bright green, they are not glow in the dark, they're not photoluminescent, but they grab you pretty well in most lighting. Does have a manual safety, but as you'll see, it tucks so tight against the frame that it's not going to be in the way. However, when it is in safe, it's definitely easily findable to disengage. That's the way I like a manual safety if I'm going to have one. When the safety is up, the trigger locks. You do have the striker indicator back there. Wee bit of a loaded chamber indicator and that the extractor sticks out, but as we've seen on many guns, that's usually not much. The grip is comfortable, the texture is not the most aggressive, and yet this is a gun that just on the range sort of overall feels nice, and both T and I had a good time shooting it. The trigger has a very thin blade safety, which I think is a smart thing to do. That makes it a little more effective. The trigger itself is rather thin, and you end up with light take up to a wall and a good break. It's a fairly crisp trigger. Reset brings you right back to the wall to fire again, makes it pretty predictable. And overall, it was a very comfortable gun to shoot. Now, this is a full-size pattern type gun, but I think what all of these have in common is they're priced right and built in a way that they could easily be your truck gun, camping gun, that type of thing that you get to have a full-size gun where a full-size gun is appropriate, as in concealment's not the main concern. Maybe it's your bedside gun, or it's a gun to learn with and train with. Those of you that have done much shooting have come to probably realize, like I have, that the bigger the gun is for the caliber, usually the more comfortable it is to shoot. But let's get to the video notes from shooting this thing most recently.
The sights are perfect. I love those sights. The trigger is awesome. The texture is great. It begs to be ran.
Yeah, it's surprisingly, for as, I guess, visually unimpressive it is.
Yeah. Even, I mean, there's nothing really remarkable about it in the hand either until you're shooting it, and it's just a part of you.
Haven't shot this one in a while.
Even watching it in your hand is just a joy. Like,
it wants to be run, and
yeah.
It's ready. The sights are great.
It does not move when you shoot it.
Yeah, and the trigger's not magic. It's got a little bit of that kind of roll through push, but it's not requiring any extra energy to put any extra pressure to roll through that. Like, you get to it, you know you're there, and you just continue, and it goes through.
Yeah, it's definitely an all the way out. Don't hold it to the rear. Just use the trigger as it was designed. And
yeah,
like, I even noticed when I was shooting that I didn't have to. My sights weren't going up and down as much as they would on some others.
Yeah, it's just flat, and I'm getting a little bit of gap right here in the tang, almost as if my hand wants to be at a higher angle or a shallower angle than the grip is. But the way the front strap is shaped and the angle of it lets you really drive on the gun. And then that little bit of gap might become some room for play. Let's see if I push my hand in there deeper. Okay, that is certainly a different grip angle. fill it. Let me put 5 through it using the grip angle the gun comes with, instead of forcing it into the grip angle I want to shoot. All right, trying the AHSS FXS9. I did it. Using the grip angle that it wants, which is a steeper wrist pour than I am accustomed to. Yeah, it wants you to drive it. It wants to push. That's nice.